In the dark, waterlogged heart of a Scottish peat bog, something remarkable sleeps beneath centuries of silence. The ground looks ordinary, soft, brown, lifeless. But hidden within those layers of ancient moss and decay is a secret library of DNA, perfectly preserved by the bog's cold embrace. It is here, in this natural time capsule, that science has begun to read the genetic fingerprints of meals eaten thousands of years ago. Imagine uncovering not weapons or jewelry, but the remnants of barley, hazelnut, deer, and fish, all encoded in microscopic fragments of environmental DNA. What if the secrets of how ancient Scots lived, hunted and survived, were waiting not in ruins or relics, but in the mud beneath our feet? Across the Scottish highlands and islands, peat bogs stretch like sleeping giants. These wetlands have swallowed the centuries, preserving everything from prehistoric tools to entire bodies, their skin and hair still intact after millennia. But now, a new chapter of discovery has begun. Scientists no longer dig only for artifacts. They extract DNA directly from the peat itself. Environmental DNA, or eDNA, is genetic material shed by plants, animals, and humans into their surroundings. In the unique chemistry of a peat bog, where oxygen is scarce and decay slows to a crawl, these fragments can survive for thousands of years. Each layer of peat is like a page in a book, recording what lived, grew, and died in that era. The results are rewriting what we thought we knew about ancient Scottish diets. For years, historians assumed early Scots lived mainly on grains, fish, and game. But when scientists analyzed DNA extracted from bog cores in Orkney, the Outer Hebrides, and the Highlands, they found evidence of foods no one expected, DNA from wild plants, freshwater shellfish, and even traces of seaweed. This means the ancient Scottish diet was far more varied and resourceful than imagined. The people who lived here were not simply farmers or hunters, they were foragers. Scientists of survival who used every resource their land and sea could offer. By examining sediment from different depths, researchers can reconstruct changing diets through time. DNA from around 8,000 years ago reveals a diet rich in wild hazelnuts, elk, and berries. By 5,000 years ago, genetic traces of barley and wheat appear, showing the dawn of farming. Later still, the DNA of sheep and cattle emerges, marking the rise of pastoral life. And scattered through all those layers, like whispers from the sea, appear fragments of marine species such as herring, cod, and kelp. Scotland's early peoples weren't isolated land dwellers. They were coastal innovators, combining agriculture with a deep understanding of marine ecosystems. It's discoveries like this that we explore here on GenealogyX, where DNA becomes the key to unlocking hidden chapters of human history. If you've ever wondered what your ancestors ate, how they lived, or what stories lie buried in the soil beneath your own homeland, make sure to subscribe, because this is where science meets ancestry in its purest form. What makes this research so astonishing is not just what it reveals, but how it does so. A single teaspoon of peat can contain millions of fragments of DNA, from the roots of ancient barley plants to the remains of cooked venison or burnt fish bones that seeped into the soil near early hearths. Even pollen grains trapped in the bog can tell us what crops were grown nearby. This technique is revolutionizing archaeology, turning dirt and mud into molecular archives. Unlike bones or tools, which show only glimpses of life, eDNA reveals what people consumed, traded, and adapted to in an ever-changing climate. At the site of the famous Orkney settlements near Skara Brae, scientists have pulled DNA from peat layers dating to around 3000 BCE. They found traces of oats, hazelnuts, and dairy, evidence that Neolithic Scots practiced mixed subsistence farming. Yet alongside these domestic foods were remnants of seal and seabird DNA, showing they hunted and fished as well. It paints a picture of a community that blended farming with wild foraging, Understanding how to balance the gifts of land and sea, the peat bogs also preserve the DNA of the environment itself, allowing researchers to see how climate and ecology influence diet. When temperatures drop during the so-called Little Ice Age, certain plant and animal DNA signatures vanish, replaced by hardier species. This suggests that ancient Scots adapted quickly to environmental change, altering their diets to survive colder, harsher conditions. What's more, some DNA samples show the introduction of new crops, likely brought by contact with traders from mainland Europe. The arrival of wheat, for example, coincides with known migration routes, hinting that Scotland's early farmers were part of a much larger network of exchange than once thought. But the bogs hold mysteries as well. In one study from the Highlands, researchers discovered DNA sequences from a species of barley that should not have existed in that region at the time. It raises questions. Was this barley traded from elsewhere, or have we underestimated how far north ancient agriculture truly spread? Could it mean that early Scottish farmers were more technologically advanced than assumed, cultivating strains capable of surviving cold, wet climates? Each unexpected DNA find forces archaeologists to reconsider the timeline of innovation, and the surprises don't stop with food. Alongside dietary DNA, scientists have found traces of human genetic material, shed skin cells, hair fragments, even microbial DNA from ancient gut bacteria. Together, these remnants can reconstruct not only what people ate, but how their bodies adapted to it. Some studies suggest ancient Scots may have developed early forms of lactose tolerance, hinting that milk and dairy became staples much earlier here than in parts of mainland Europe. Others reveal DNA from medicinal plants like meadowsweet and willow, possibly used for pain relief or fever, a glimpse into prehistoric healthcare. So when you imagine an ancient Highlander sharing a meal, think beyond venison stew and oatcakes. Picture bowls of boiled seaweed, roasted hazelnuts, dried fish, and barley porridge sweetened with wild honey. Imagine meals shaped by ingenuity and necessity, flavored by the land and sea that sustained them. But here's the real question: what will DNA tell us next? If we can identify plants and animals from thousands of years ago, could we one day reconstruct ancient recipes themselves? Could scientists resurrect the flavors of prehistoric Scotland, growing the same barley and herbs, catching the same fish species? It sounds like science fiction, but researchers are already using ancient DNA to revive extinct grains and crops once lost to time. Someday soon, we may taste the past itself. Peat bog DNA also offers clues about ancient trade. In one peat core from the west coast, scientists detected traces of grapevine DNA centuries before vineyards existed in Scotland. How did it get there? Perhaps through imported wine or dried fruits carried by merchants from the continent. These small fragments speak volumes about a world far more interconnected than textbooks suggest. Trade, adaptation, and innovation were all part of Scotland's ancient story. Still, the bog keeps its secrets well. Not all DNA survives, and what does is often fragmentary, a puzzle missing most of its pieces. Interpreting it requires immense care. Contamination from modern species can blur the line between ancient and recent signals. But as technology advances, the picture sharpens. New techniques can now date individual DNA fragments and identify species that once left no physical trace. Each new discovery brings us closer to understanding how ancient Scots truly lived, not as distant ancestors but as resourceful, adaptable humans facing the same challenges we do today: climate change, scarcity, and survival. Their diets tell us about resilience, ingenuity, and a deep respect for nature. If you find this glimpse into the ancient DNA of Scotland as fascinating as we do, join GenealogyX for more real discoveries that connect us to our forgotten past. Because history isn't just written in books. It's encoded in every cell, every drop of water, every grain of peat beneath our feet. So next time you walk across a damp highland bog, remember this: Beneath your boots lies a molecular map of human history. Every layer is a chapter, every drop of peat a line in the story of who we are. The question now is, how much of that story is still waiting to be told? And when science finally uncovers the full menu of ancient Scotland, will the flavors of the past taste familiar or utterly alien? The bogs are silent, but their DNA is not. It speaks of meals, migrations, and memories preserved by time itself, waiting patiently for us to listen.